Who is Jeremy Scott? Well, he's a man with two first names, which right off the bat is a sorry predicament to be in. And Scott, oof, that's only one step below Chad on the hierarchy of frat names. But beyond that, he's a fashion designer, and a really interesting one at that, because he embodies a lot of the dichotomies at once, all while holding onto a rock-solid aesthetic, which is really hard to do. I mean, imagine creating designs that are both humorous and totally serious, street and luxury, exaggerated and classic, while simultaneously keeping it all of a piece and totally cohesive within a body of work. It's kind of mystifying. So, how does he do it? Well, he's an alien, obviously. But before we get going, I've looked into it, and a very, very tiny percentage of you are actually subscribed to the channel. So it doesn't cost you anything. If you like the content I make, just click that subscribe button, and I thank you profusely. And I don't mean that in the little green man, beep boop, take me to your leader kind of way, but you can think of it like that if you want. The metaphor still holds, you closed-minded single definition of an alien goof you. No. I mean alien more in the generalized sense of being an outsider. Fashion is not a place that he is of, certainly not in the way many are. A lot of the top designers are from very privileged backgrounds, some even with household name parents. I mean, Stella McCartney probably could have gotten funding for her first collection before she even picked up a pair of scissors with her delicate, high-class British hands. Oh, Strawberry Fields Forever, Dad? More like Burberry Fields Forever, because that girl was probably wearing Novacek diapers from birth. Oh, Paperback Writer, Dad? More like Coattail Rider on Daddy's jacket. Also probably Novacek, come to think of it. Why am I going in so hard on Stella McCartney right now? She seems like a lovely woman and she does things so sustainably. Maybe I'm just a broken man who can only pull himself up while pulling others down. I don't know, sorry Stella. Side note, when you're knighted in Britain, does Burberry just give you a key to their warehouse and say, have at it? If so, call me Dame LOWluxury and let me get in on that shit. I'd be Novacek-ing this, house-checking that, and how did we even get onto this subject? Right, of course, because we were talking about Jeremy Scott and how he's not Paul McCartney's daughter. Actually, far from it. Jeremy grew up on a farm in Lowry City, Missouri, about as far from the high-fashion metropoli he'd end up in as you can get. The thing is, he clearly didn't belong there. If you watch the totally not hagiographic documentary about him, he and his family talk a lot about how he just couldn't wait to get out of there. But the thing is, I think that upbringing had a lot more to do with Jeremy's design aesthetic than a lot of people realize. That's not to say you're ever gonna see a Moschino show with models in denim overalls and straw hats, but the fact that he was so far from fashion is what now makes him so unique in fashion. Jeremy Scott is the kind of guy who will look at SpongeBob SquarePants and Basquiat and see them on equal levels. There's an almost indignance to it. In his mind, all art deserves respect, even if one is displayed on Nickelodeon and the other at the Met. This is also the problem that fashion editors have with him. More often than not, it's that word said with a curled lip, taste. Yes, Jeremy Scott has quote-unquote bad taste, but in his case, it's hard to say whether it's bad taste to the level of camp or just straight bad. Sometimes the line is hard to find. It can be kind of infuriating though, because Jeremy's designs are really funny, and if you look over at other houses like Balenciaga or Vetements, they're doing things with humor too, but getting all the plaudits while Jeremy Scott gets laughed at. The issue here is that Balenciaga's humor has an ironic detachment. It's the cool kid kind of humor appreciated by people in black turtlenecks who smoke clove cigarettes. Jeremy's humor is earnest and colorful and playful. It's kind of the difference between SpongeBob and It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. They're both funny, yeah, but the similarities kind of end there. So, Jeremy's a young man. He has this colorful, fun aesthetic and dreams of big fashion in the big city. The thing is, he had trouble getting steady work in the fashion industry. He ended up in Paris and got so fed up trying to find consistent work that he decided to do his own label and his own runway show. I envy people who can do that. They make the world go around. I mean, this YouTube channel is maybe the biggest professional risk I've ever taken, and I can do it from my bedroom with no financial risk, really. So what I'm essentially saying is that I'm a coward, and I'm not sure how Jeremy worked up the chutzpah to go out on his own. But he did, and by all accounts, it was very successful. At least it made him enough money to keep going and producing new collections. His third collection in 1998 gave him perhaps one of his biggest breaks, the opportunity to dress leprechaun, field woman, pale, ethereal goddess Bjork, who he would go on to design costumes for many times. This led to maybe his biggest claim to fame, at least before the Moschino appointment, which was celebrity styling. These pieces really range the full gamut. I mean, take a look at this piece he designed for Madonna. Oh my god, is that a creature from the lagoon or a dress? I truly do not know, but what I do know is that it needs to be killed before it can replicate, oh sweet Lord baby Jesus, save us. But then you've got Jeremy Scott designing for Miley Cyrus, and she looks like a beautiful lollipop acid trip, don't you know, fresh off a Joshua Tree adventure with the flaming lips gorge. Mwah! Those are just a couple of the many celebrities he's worked with, culminating with the costumes for Katy Perry's Super Bowl performance, which I think were overall really cool in a DIY Wonder Woman superhero kind of way. If there's one thing Jeremy Scott was known for before 2013 though, it was his Adidas collaborations. Those winged shoes are iconic, and honestly, they speak to me on a deep level, personally. Why? Well, by elementary school, I was already questioning the existence of God. Whoa, this got real heavy real fast, but here we are, who would have thunk it? But I wasn't quite ready to give up the idea entirely and become the disgusting heathen I am today. So, we were learning about Greek mythology in school, and I decided, as any rational child does, that Ares was the one true god that I believed in, so I spent a solid 2 months praying to Ares every night before bed. Yeah, that guy. That guy right there. That was my god. Fuck. All of that is to say that 10-year-old me would have rocked the hell out of those Adidas shoes, and what adult doesn't love a little childlike whimsy now and again? For that reason, it makes perfect sense to me that those shoes were a hit. And keep in mind, this was way before Yeezy and way before the modern sneaker collaboration super saturation situation we're in now. And yeah, say that 3 times fast.
Collaboration, super saturation situation. Collaboration, super saturation situation. Collaboration, super saturation situation.
Oh lordy, I just lost 12.3 brain cells and I'm fading fast. Anyway, Jeremy was running his label for almost 2 decades when he was finally tapped to be the creative director for Moschino. It was looked at as a bit of an odd move, but it clearly made sense. Franco Moschino, the founder of the brand, was himself known for his sense of humor in design. And the brand had been a big steaming pile of nothing for a long time at that point. I mean, look at what they were before Jeremy Scott. What is this? Where am I? The brain cells are continuing to drop like flies here, people, and I know what that feels like because I remember drinking 4 Loko back when it was basically a Xanax overdose in a can. Has Jeremy Scott's Moschino always been great? No. No label he's designed ever has been. He's an outsider artist, and you take the good with the bad because the highs are truly higher than you can almost ever get with the entrenched voices in the fashion industry. His Spring-Summer 2016 show, for instance, was an amazing example of taking streetwear to its most literal definition's endpoint. And his Fall-Winter 18 collection was all about, well, you look at that, aliens. See, I'm not just pulling stuff out of my ass here, people. I'm a great fashion critic, and this is just more proof of that, thank you very much. Sometimes it's all a bit much though, quite literally, like in the pre-fall 2019 collection where everything was oversized beyond Balenciaga levels, which is when you know you've really gone too far. And let's be real here, Jeremy Scott has had more than his fair share of controversies. For instance, Jeremy made a social media post about that very alien collection I was just talking about and wrote, "The only thing illegal about this alien is how good she looks." Anyone who knows anything about the modern internet, outside of the basement-dwelling Gamergate incel types, is that they don't take kindly to that sort of trivialization of a serious social issue, y'all. Despite claiming that he wanted to call attention to the issue, he was, rightly dragged. And how about that Adidas collaboration? See, everything's coming full circle. Told ya I play 4D fashion critic chess up here, guys. Anyway, Jeremy put out a new silhouette as part of that collaboration called the Roundhouse Mid Handcuffs. The shoes sported a yellow plastic chain and cuff attachment on the back, which many justifiably saw as a comparison to slavery. Those shoes were actually taken off the shelves, along with a PR statement along the lines of,
"Sorry you were offended, we're gonna stop selling them now."
The last controversy I want to talk about is by far the most serious. The small designer Etta Gimnes, butchered that name, guaranteed, not bothered though, moving on. She called Moschino and Jeremy Scott out for plagiarizing her designs. And when you look at them side by side, it's really hard to argue with her. It gets even more unforgivable when you learn that Edo was actually interviewed for a job at Moschino, so they had full access to all the sketches and designs that led to these pieces. This kind of thing happens way more often than it should in the fashion world, and when the circumstances are as clear as this, it's hard to call it an oopsie. That's what's most disappointing here. The one thing that Jeremy Scott has, the one thing that all of the fashion critics of the world can't take from him, is his originality. When you look at these pieces, they don't look like Jeremy Scott pieces to me, not in the way most of his stuff does. But hey, according to my comments section, I'm a Virgil Abloh super stan, so I can't really talk at this point. And understandably, after admitting that, I'll say pretty unequivocally that I'm generally a big fan of Jeremy Scott too. Even though he's got his hands full at Moschino, he's still got his namesake label, fully owned by him, which is a rarity in these days. I mean, I thought everyone had sold to the New Guards group by now. That's actually an industry joke, kinda inside baseball. You may not be in the know enough to get it, but if you do get it, it really shows off my breadth of fashion industry knowledge, just saying. Also just saying, I hope it's obvious that all this self-aggrandizing talk in the latter half of this video is a defense mechanism to protect against attacks that I don't know what I'm talking about, just saying. I actually picked myself up a piece from the Jeremy Scott label because I wanted a dose of pure unadulterated Jeremy. And yes, even after saying that, I am a fully straight man, but I'm also comfortable with my sexuality, so there you go. Anyway, let's take a look at this piece. As you can see, it's a loud lime green graphic sweater. It has that cartoonish humor that we've all come to know and love from him, so I couldn't help myself. It also shows off his love of branding, something we haven't really talked about yet. Jeremy Scott seems to understand the absurdity of a logo and the outlandishness of its overuse. He really revels in it. It's the same knowledge that brands like Gucci have, in my opinion, but that a lot of luxury houses actually lack. They plaster their name and logo on everything, but never seem to acknowledge the silliness of that act. Jeremy Scott clearly does understand that, and has eaten up his own logo by this cartoon skeletal structure here. I really love everything about it. Beyond that, the quality is great, it's luxurious and soft virgin wool made in Italy, lacking any of that typical wool scratchiness that makes me want to die inside, so that's nice. And now, how do I wrap this thing up? I don't know. Stop making fun of Jeremy Scott, guys. He's actually a really good designer and way more self-aware than anyone seems to give him credit for. And with that, I thank you for watching. Let me know what you think of Jeremy Scott and Moschino in the comments, like this video, subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you next time.